Good day everyone, and a warm welcome to my channel. My name is Cliff. I'm a gem cutter from Southern Australia, and in today's episode it's all about the viewer. In the previous video that I uploaded, it was about you guys choosing a particular design by an Australian gem cutter and gem designer called Tony C. So a quick update, in my previous video I asked all my viewers and subscribers to choose one of 3 designs that was designed by Tony C. The first design was the Illusion, the second design was called Rocket Ship, and the third design was called the Princess Trilliant. So I tallied up all the results, and the most popular design chosen by the people was the Princess Trilliant. It only just got over the line because the Illusion was the second most popular choice. I personally wanted to facet the Illusion, but people went for the more traditional design, and a Trilliant is a very popular design. Anyway, let's have a look at the design. So Tony's design with the Princess Trilliant starts off typically like a lot of Trilliant designs, where you cut the first 6 facets down to a center point. So the next step is also typical of most Trilliants. You start to build a basic shape, building the girdle outline, and then you'll start to cut in the next set of pavilion facets. And this is also traditional of most Trilliants, and then complete the remaining girdle outline. All of a sudden the tempo starts to change within the faceting routine as you begin to facet the pavilion 3 and pavilion 4 facets, creating true meet points. You need to be careful on the pavilion 4 facets, they really will cut in fast. Onto the crown, and the crown is typical of most Trilliants. You're cutting to a center point, forming a girdle outline. So once we've formed a nice level girdle outline, we start to build in the rest of the crown facets, forming in a nice pattern. Lots of little meet points that need to be taken into consideration. Also with the table will need to align with 3 other intersecting meet points. That could be a challenge, but it is really a wonderful design. Probably not the most difficult Trilliant, but certainly this design works. Couple reasons why this design really works. There are no ridiculous protractor angles. You don't have to worry about trying to hit a meet point within 1/100th of a degree. Also the sequencing is really good. There's one thing Tony's really good at, is getting the sequencing right. If other designs are out there, pay attention to good sequencing. So here is a computer animation of the gem, what it may look like once completed, and as you can see it has a lot of output. So what I mean to say by that, it has a lot of scintillation. I'll leave a link to Tony's YouTube channel in the description box, so if you want to facet any of his designs or you have some questions about his designs, then you can message him there. I'll also leave a link to his Trilliant that he faceted also. So let's get cracking and let's start faceting the Princess Trilliant. So what I'm doing first, I'm using a very worn out 100 grit diamond topper lap, using plenty of water. My main aim is just to cut out the basic outline and shape first. Nothing too fancy at this point, just creating a shape of the gem. Cubic zirconia, a synthetic man-made gem, initially used as an artificial diamond, which has been superseded by the more popular moissanite, but that's a lot more expensive. But cubic zirconia can be fairly harsh on your grinding discs, so just pay attention with this, particularly if you're faceting large pieces. It will wear out your discs. So here's a close-up of what I've been doing, just trying to remove as much material as possible, still trying to create a relatively even center point within reason, because I'm using a very rough coarse disc. So at this point I'm just trying to get the initial shape formed. So now that the initial shape has been ground out with the 100 grit topper lap, I've moved on to a 600 grit topper lap and I've gone over the same facets, just smoothing those initial facets out even more. So once I've gone over these facets with the 600 grit diamond topper lap, I'll change this lap out for my very worn out 800 grit diamond topper lap, and I'll go over the same facets again. Now this will not take long at all, and the good thing is, because all these laps are the same thickness, I don't really have to raise or lower the mast at all. In the following scenes you'll see the difference between the 600 grit lap and then the 800 grit lap. So now that the bulk of the larger facets have now been cut, from now on in I'll just be using the 800 grit topper lap that I used before, and I'll cut in all the smaller facets, and that will also include the rest of the girdle outline, because these won't be large facets, so I'll cut those in with the same disc. So I'm ready to start pre-polishing on my copper lap, and I'm ready to just find out where the first facet sits on my copper lap before I start polishing. The residual grease on the lap will tell me exactly where that facet is touching, and as you can see by the black grease that's on the facet, I could probably cheat a little bit to the left. Now if you're unsure about polishing or pre-polishing, and you're not sure whether the surface of the facet is flush on the lap, you can use this method. So as you can see, all these pre-polished facets that I've already done, there's a stark difference between that and the 800 grit topper lap. Incidentally, I'm using an 8000 grit diamond compound, which is rubbed into the copper lap using 1 drop of sewing machine oil. So what you do, you just rub the sewing machine oil onto the lap with your finger, and then use that grease finger and just dip it into a little bit of 8000 grit diamond dust and just smear it onto the lap. So you just roll it in with your finger. Make sure you clean your fingers afterwards though. So as you can see, I've started faceting the crown, and I've started off with a 240 grit diamond topper lap. It's a fairly worn 240 grit, and I decided not to start off with 100 grit because I don't need to remove as much material. And not only that, the 100 grit lap can be quite aggressive because you do get a bit of chipping. So as you get closer to the girdle outline, you want to avoid getting big chips, because if the chips are too deep, they're very hard to remove. You almost have to cut the whole girdle out, and you don't want to do that. So all the other facets from now on will be cut with an 800 grit diamond topper lap, because they're not huge facets and they'll cut fairly fast. So in the following scenes you'll see that I've cut all the facets in sequence with my 800 grit diamond topper lap. So the next step is to do the pre-polish. Now this is one of the problems that people strike with cubic zirconia. They always complain about orange peel. They can't get rid of it. And the reason why they can't get rid of it is because they don't do a good enough pre-polish. Or if you decide not to do a good enough pre-polish, then you really have to spend a lot of time polishing. So as you can see, I'm using 1 drop of sewing machine oil, and then just putting my finger on the disc, rubbing the oil into the disc, and then what I'll do, I'll just dip my finger into a little container and just let some of the 8000 diamond grit stick to your finger, dob it on, and then just roll it into the lap. So I'll pre-polish all the facets except the table facet. I'll leave that to last, and after I've done the pre-polish, I'll do a final polish, doing the same thing again but on a tin lap, but using a 50,000 grit diamond compound, doing the same process, 1 drop of sewing machine oil, rubbing the diamond compound, the 50,000 grit compound, and then go over the same facets and polish those. So cubic zirconia takes a little bit of elbow grease to get a nice polish, but like anything in life, practice makes perfect. If you spend enough time just learning how to do it and learning by your mistakes, you'll certainly be able to polish cubic zirconia. So we're getting closer to the end of another video. I would like to thank all those people who participated in the exercise of choosing a design for me to facet. Clearly the Princess Trilliant won. I would have liked to have faceted the illusion, so did other people, and there were a whole heap of people who voted for rocket ship also. So one day I'll facet both those designs. Also, thank you to Tony for allowing me to facet one of his designs. And last but not least, we have a final reveal coming up, so don't forget about that. So until next time, take care everyone. Bye for now.